You know, you can say what you want about the wheel when it comes to Banlist Roulette, but it's pretty frightening that the last time we did this, it was probably the most accurate out of anyone else's Banlist predictions out there. So let's see where Orcus Harpoor ends up. Harpoor is going to be banned, but either way, let's see what the wheel has in store. What is going on? Which you can bring it onto the field. So let's see where Colossus ends up. I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. Maybe we need a ban list like this coming up. Maybe we just need to start over from scratch and just eradicate the top decks. The wheel is just ruthless. Just saying. What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, and welcome to another episode of Banlist Roulette. So for those of you who are new to the series, what we do is once we're on the verge of a new ban list, before I give you guys my actual ban list predictions, I like to go ahead and leave fate up to the wheel to determine what is going to be in store for our next ban list. You ever notice how sometimes when we get a new ban list, Konami decides to do some changes that might not make the most sense? Well, we always joke about it just being completely random. Well, here's our chance to see that randomness happen in action. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. I want to start by talking about some of the more meta decks at the moment. I know we're on the verge of Master Rule 5, so there's a lot to cover in this video, but I want to start by talking about the current best decks of the format and some possible hits those decks could receive. So first up on the list is Shaddoll Winda. Now, Winda is an interesting card. A lot of people might say that this card is fine, but a card that kind of operates on this floodgate sort of level where it's pretty much just diminishing so many players from being able to play. Not the most healthy card for the game. Now, I personally don't think it's like that bad. While definitely oppressive, there definitely are a lot of ways to work around it, but it's pretty bad, right? A lot of people just really hate getting window locked, and it's like, well, guess I can't play my deck. And there are some people who would argue that something should happen to Winda on the next ban list, so I thought I'd go ahead and let the first pick of the wheel be Shaddoll Winda. Let's see what happens. Alright, Shaddoll Winda would go to 2. I don't think that does anything whatsoever, since most people only play 2 Winda anyway, but I mean, for all you Shaddoll players out there, you dodged a bullet on this one. Now, the next card I want to discuss is Lunalight Tiger. There's definitely a lot of discussion circulating around this card because, you know, Lunalight is very powerful of a deck as it may be. Tiger is kind of, you know, the focal point of a lot of that deck's power, and just being able to recycle and reuse it so many different times, abuse it with your own cards like Tornado Dragon just to ensure you get your extra extenders. The card is crazy, right? It's kind of one of the reasons to play Lunalight, and if there's going to be like anything in the Lunalight deck to hit, it would probably be Lunalight Tiger. So let's go ahead and see where Tiger ends up. Lunalight Tiger would also go to 2. Looks like we're going very semi-limited heavy on this upcoming list, which wouldn't be too much of a surprise. The OCG's actually done that the last couple times, and given the fact that we're going to Master Rule 5, we could see a lot of semi-limits. But would that affect Lunalight too much? Probably not. Now, speaking of Lunalight, there's another card that you could argue is a Lunalight-oriented card, but also kind of goes in Spiral and a myriad of other different strategies, and that's Magician's Souls. Now, this is a bit of a weird one. I don't really see a lot of people talking about this card receiving a hit, but this card kind of acts as like a pseudo-brilliant fusion in a way, right? It's this 4-card engine comprised of 3 Magician Souls and a lone copy of whatever spellcaster you see fit, whether it's Spiral, you use Master Plan, or most people just use like Apprentice Illusion Magician. And what you do is you have an outlet for discards to cycle cards out of your hand, and then you also have a free extender on top of that. In Spiral, it has synergies like with Where Art Thou? It's a dark, so it has like a Lure of Darkness. There's just so many cool, interesting things that Magician Souls offers to decks, but is it to the point where it's too powerful? I'm not necessarily sure, and I would love to hear in the comments what you guys think either way, but it is definitely a noteworthy card, and let's go ahead and see what it ends up on this list. Semi-limited again. That's crazy. 3 semi-limits in a row. Again, would that really do anything? hard to tell, right? I mean, would people still play Magician's Souls if you can only play 2 of it in the deck? Because remember, you still have to run that one, you have to run that one brick. So, I don't know, that's an interesting one. But let's move on to some other degenerate cards. Now, a lot of people thought when we hit Guardragon Elpy that was going to be enough to stop the Dragon Link decks or the Guardragon Focus decks. Turns out they're still just as powerful. So I think Guardragon Elpy is definitely worthy of discussion. Keep in mind, they just banned Elpy in the OCG, and with Master Rule 5 right around the corner, who knows, the Guardragons may be a bit too powerful. I'm not too sure, but let's see where Elpy ends up. Well, Elpy's staying at 3. All you Dragon Link players, you can all rejoice. So now I want to move the discussion more towards Master Rule 5, right? I want to talk about cards that are adjacent to some of the new cards that came out in Duel Overload, or maybe some of the cards that might need a touching here and there just because of the fact that we are dealing with Master Rule 5. We'll have to see, but I want to start off specifically with Crystron Needle Fiber. Now, I'm not talking about hitting Crystron Needle Fiber specifically, but some of the cards that it helps enable, one of which is Glow Up Bulb. Now, Glow Up Bulb is already banned in the OCG, which I think is for a very good reason, but Glow Up Bulb can just enable so much in tandem with Needle Fiber that I think it's probably for the better health of the game that this card gets banned. Let's go ahead and see, though, where Glow Up Bulb ends up. Alright, limited. So would that do anything? Absolutely not, because people only played one Glow Up Bulb anyway. So yeah, Needle Fiber is going to just be able to run rampant. I guess another card you could say would be something like Blackwing Steam the Cloak, right? Just because for the same reason that Glow Up Bulb was just as powerful, Steam the Cloak can just enable just as much bullshit as something like Glow Up Bulb would in tandem with Needle Fiber. So let's go ahead and see where Steam the Cloak ends up on this list. And Steam the Cloak is staying at 3. Yeah, that's not going to be too good. Now, the next card I want to discuss is TG Hyper Librarian. Now, a lot of people, including myself, think that even with Synchros coming back into the mix with Master Rule 5, is Synchro spam really going to be a deck again? We're not sure. But this is like one of those preemptive hits just to ensure that you can't draw your entire deck with TG Hyper Librarian, because if you have this card in multiples, then it'll be very easy for you to turbo into anything. Granted, there's so many ways to stop it. I think this is more of just like a preemptive check on anything degenerate coming out. So let's see where the wheel ends up with TG Hyper Librarian. Well, Hyper Librarian saving at 3. Not even limited, by the way, just completely staying at 3. So all you Synchro spam players out there, you better go ahead and show me that this is the right move. By extension, though, another Synchro card I want to discuss is Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This card recently went to 3 not too long ago, and we do see it being played not necessarily for the fact that you want to summon 3 copies, but it's played in like dinosaur decks just so you can play stuff like Pot of Extravagance and ensure you still have one in your extra deck. But having 3 copies of Trish when you have these Synchro spam decks around. We've seen Trishula spam and just hand looping decks exist in the past, and so I think for the better health of the game, hitting this card to at least 1 copy is probably the correct move. Again, maybe we're just getting a little bit too cautious here, but I think that's definitely a good hit. So who knows what the wheel has in store? Let's find out. Alright, Trishula going to 2, that's probably still just as bad as if it were at 3, because you have plenty of other cards that can loop cards out of the hand. There's probably ways to just loop those 2 Trishes over and over. Yeah, that's not good at all. Now, the next card I want to discuss is ancillary in terms of Union Carrier, being Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. Now, this card may seem innocuous when you read it at first, considering it is a Buster Blader card. However, when you look at it in tandem with Union Carrier and the fact that you can equip any Dark or Dragon monster from your deck with this card and lock your opponent out from summoning from the extra deck, it's basically Vanity's Emptiness as long as you can make Union Carrier, and that is probably not okay in the slightest. Now, Japan hasn't hit this card, which they just banned Jin, Releaser of Rituals, so maybe they should probably have just banned this card as well. I don't think this card is like nearly as oppressive as something like Vanity's or Jin, but it's still pretty bad, right? And why would we allow a card like this to exist when we know degenerate combos are around, and Dark and Dragon are like 2 of the most prolific typings and attributes in the game? I don't like it. I don't think a lot of people like it. So let's see where the wheel ends up with this one. Wow, that's the first ban of the video, and it goes to Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. I don't think people would mind this, honestly. It wouldn't be like the end-all be-all, but like I think it's, again, it's a good move if we want a healthier game moving forward. Instant Fusion's another interesting card with Master Rule 5, because now since you're no longer restricted to summoning cards in the extra monster zone, you're able to play cards like Thousand Eyes Restrict more freely in your main monster zone, but also Millennium Eyes Restrict is where things get interesting, and now you have a built-in card that can essentially protect you from hand traps during your turn. And so it's like you're playing 6 copies effectively of Called by the Grave. Once we get crossed out Designator, that number goes up even further. Keep in mind the OCG did just limit Instant Fusion to 1 on their most recent ban list, so clearly Konami has their eye on this card as well, but let's see where Instant Fusion ends up. Alright, semi-limited. Wow, so many semi-limits on this. 2 Instant Fusion. It's fine. You guys know how I feel about the semi-limited list. I don't really think it's anything too... It's like it should just go to 1 at that point, because I don't think 2 really does it. People would still play 2 copies of Instant Fusion, guaranteed. So now there's a deck I want to talk about specifically, and that is ABC. A lot of people are hyped to play ABC in Master Rule 5, considering the fact that Dragon Busters at 3, Union Hangers at 3, you're able to summon multiple Dragon Busters again, which was kind of one of the big reasons it fell off during Master Rule 4. The deck is one of the most powerful decks ever made in its own era, and people are really excited just to play the deck again, but as we saw in the OCG, they hit Buster to 1, and they hit Union Hanger to 1, which is really odd, so I'd be curious to see what the wheel says about Dragon Buster and Union Hanger here for the TCG, so let's find out. Semi-limit again, so Buster going to 2, would people still play ABC? I mean, probably. We don't know how good it is, but I mean, the fact you could at least have 2 Busters, that's definitely better than just 1. Let's see about Union Hanger. Union Hanger would stay at 3, so ABC would be perfectly playable, and we'd actually get to see then if the deck actually does anything. So we're nearing the end of the video, and there's only a couple cards left I still want to discuss, one of which has the community heavily divided, and that is Mystic Mine. Sorry, Jeff, we gotta go ahead and see what happens to Mystic Mine. This card's so weird, right? Like, yes, it's this automatic win button against these crazy combo decks that put up these seemingly unbeatable boards that don't play a main deck out in the form of spell and trap removal. But is that okay? You could make the argument the other way that, like, it's not really fair that those other decks are able to end on, like, 6 negation boards. I don't know. That's probably a video that you could just have in and of itself. But Mystic Mine, I just feel like, is this degenerate card in a very unhealthy way. And even Jeff, the Mystic Mine lover himself, has finally said that he feels that it's time for the card to go. I personally feel it should go. A lot of people do too. Let's go ahead and see where Mystic Mine ends up. Alright, unlimited, it's rigged. Jeff, this is rigged. This has your fingerprints written all over this. So as per tradition, there's still 1 card left we have to spin for, and that is Maxx. We have to determine the fate of this card because we're going into Master Rule 5. There's a lot of unknowns here. Like, is it time for Maxx to finally come off? Absolutely not, but that doesn't mean we're not going to spin the wheel and find out. So for all you Maxx lovers out there, this could be it, but I mean, there's no chance the card's coming back. I'm just gonna warn you right now. So, as per tradition, Maxx, Banlist Roulette, let's see what happens. Yes! It's still banned! Absolutely where it should be. Thank you, wheel. You never disappoint. Guys, that's gonna go ahead and wrap up the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to stay tuned for tomorrow when I give you guys my more serious analytical ban list prediction video, just so we have something, you know, to contrast with the more satirical version I brought to you guys today. Thank you again so much for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think in terms of what other cards you want to see on the upcoming list. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video entertaining, consider supporting me on Patreon, becoming a YouTube channel member. Just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.